Ange Postecoglou has been sacked. After winning the Europa League and giving Spurs fans the best night of their life, Ange Postecoglou is no longer at the club. Now, it's a very conflicting situation because there's one hand of it being harsh, there's one hand of I see what the club's doing. It's one of them ones where it's kind of up in the air, and I do actually think the club couldn't win. Like I said, Bilbao will probably be any Spurs fan's best day in their life, and most fans are going to want him to stay. As a neutral and someone who doesn't really have any heart in this conversation, do I think it was the right decision? Yes. We saw what happened, funny enough, at Man United, the team that Spurs beat in the final with Erik ten Hag. Last season, not a great campaign. Win the FA Cup. It gives the fans that last bit of hope that they think they can turn a season around and base it all off one game. And ultimately, they paid the price because they gave him another transfer window. He spent a load of money, brought in a load of players, which now a lot of them they're trying to ship. I personally think Daniel Levy has seen that. He's seen the league form. And he's gone, we can't be getting caught up in this. We all know Daniel Levy loves a bit of money, so he ain't going to be wanting to give hundreds of millions to a manager that even he doesn't believe in or doesn't think will be there for much longer. Yes, they won a trophy, but 78 points in 66 games, finishing 17th in the Premier League. I'm sorry, a top club. That is not good enough. Was this harsh? Yes, because ultimately Ange, out of anyone in that club's history, probably deserves a third season. That's why it's such a conflicting situation, because Tottenham have always been Spursy. They do Spursy things. That's how the word came about. They lose finals. They don't win trophies. Ange Postecoglou came and said in his second season, he wins trophies, and he did. And there's also that feeling of once you win one, will the floodgates open? Now, in my opinion, Spurs are not that club. The floodgates won't open. They happen to win. They won the Europa League, finishing 17th in the Premier League. It just kind of shows the quality in that tournament this year. I mean, Man United made it to the final, and that final was probably one of, if not the worst finals I've seen in years. Not taking anything away from Spurs while I say that, but let's just be honest, it was terrible. Even Spurs fans know that was a bad final. They're happy they won, which is fair enough. Ultimately, it doesn't matter how you win, as long as you win. But that final was awful to watch as a neutral, and the quality of football was shocking. It's also risky because if you are sacking Ange after what he's gave that club, your next appointment has to be perfect. It has to be right, because the moment that manager comes in and let's say he loses 3 games to start the season, the fans in them terraces, the fans that go to every game will be making a lot of noise. And the way Levy's built that stadium so it keeps noise in, he'll be hearing it. And them fans will not be afraid to be vocal. And it's a tough one because ultimately with Levy, if he sacks Ange, unless the manager is perfect and bang on, he's not going to be doing the right thing in their eyes. And if he doesn't sack him, he start the season getting battered in the Champions League, which is going to happen, going to be potentially getting battered in the league, then the fans will go, yeah, well, he did win a trophy, but don't use emotion on it. This is your job. You're meant to see these things, blah, 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 blah. Ultimately, it is tough for him. He's stuck between a bit of a rock and a hard place, but ultimately, I think he's done the right decision. The statement the club released was also quite a smart one, where they're mentioning stats. Spurs fans can't really argue with stats because I said earlier, 78 points in 66 Premier League games is not good. And also, in my opinion, the way Ange plays, it just doesn't suit the Prem. Like I've said it enough times, as a neutral, I love watching Spurs because you never know what is going to happen. You get these games where it is absolutely mental. The defenders are on the halfway line, like against Chelsea when they got absolutely battered. That is not Prem level football, but it is bloody good to watch. And yes, Ange has blamed injuries, and I appreciate that, but every team gets injuries, and especially the way he plays with such a high back line that Van de Ven, who's already injury prone as it is having to make sprints every 20 seconds because a ball's getting pinged over the top. No wonder he's doing his hamstring. He's almost like a striker's job where he's making a run constantly, having to do that. If they sit a bit deeper, you can still defend well and still use his pace, but you don't have to be standing on the halfway line constantly. And that's ultimately why I think they're losing so many games. They either batter a team or they get battered. There's no in between. They don't draw many games. It's either win or lose. And this season, it's been a lot of losing. Thomas Frank's lined up for the Spurs job. Now, I'm a bit conflicted with this one because from his standpoint, Do I make the move? Yes, because Spurs are a much bigger club than Brentford. And I also think Thomas Frank's done as much as he can with that team. He's kept them in the league every season, and he's also pushed them up the table. Some of the players that were in for low fees, sold on for more. I mean, this season they're about to sell Brian and Burmo on. Built an amazing team. When Tony went, everyone was thinking, how are they going to do? And he's absolutely proved everyone wrong this season. Do I think he's a top club? Do I think he's a Champions League manager? I'm not sure. I don't think many managers, like even Pep, could go to a Brentford and do what Thomas Frank's done. Will we ever know that? No. But I think you have managers who build up a team and they can do that well. Like David Moyes, he went to Man United. It's not for him. That he's not someone who goes into a team that has endless money and spends it. He goes into a team that doesn't have a lot of money. He finds a gem, and the way he plays suits that club and pushes them up the table that way. I think Thomas Frank could be very similar to that. I think Thomas Frank's a brilliant manager, but let's be honest, Thomas Frank going to the Nou Camp next year, going to the Bernabeu, the Allianz Arena, it doesn't really strike fear into the opponents. Also, what has Thomas Frank won? Now, I know that's tough. He's been at Brentford, but ultimately, Ange has come in to a club that never wins trophies and won a trophy. And now bring in Thomas Frank, who has no previous experience in winning. He's done very well, but you've brought someone in who is potentially worse than Ange. We don't even know. He could be the same level. We might be a little bit better. But if you're sacking someone like Ange, who's done what he's done for that club, you have to get it right. And they better hope that Frank comes in. He is the man for the job. I also don't believe that the players weren't believing in Ange Postecoglou. I just kind of think the way he plays the best, because you've seen since he's been sacked, I mean, a lot of players have come out supporting him. I think it kind of shows that the players believed in him. It's just that his tactics were not really Prem level tactics, and maybe not Prem level, maybe that's a bit harsh, but they're not going to win you trophies in the Prem. In Europe, definitely, the way other teams play, it kind of fits European football a little bit more. But in the Prem, I think playing such a high line, it's just never going to work. Daniel Levy's boss, I hope that he's got this one right, because them Tottenham fans are going to let him know straight away. Let me know what you guys think. I do think Levy's done the right thing, and I'd love to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this content, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.